it's been said here by OHRM, which did a press conference, et cetera, that UN, and you've just said it, in fact, that UN staff are free to speak. So I wanted to ask you, this is a quote of a document obtained by the journalist Lauren Wolfe, who's recently written about Me Too at the UN. And the document says, it's the UN document, identified a computer used to print an email that was later leaked to inner city press by correlating an URL at the top, URL at the top of the leaked document with webmail and DHCP logs, which is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Basically, it reflects that UN, and I believe it's OIOS, is conducting electronic investigations to determine which UN staff member leaked documents showing UN wrongdoing, they believe. And so how does this square with the idea that people are free to blow the whistle and that the UN wants wrongdoing and malfeasance to be confronted in any way possible? And is it appropriate to identify whistleblowers that communicate with investigative journalists? Is that appropriate?
No, whistleblowers should be protected. At the same time, as you know, there's a huge amount of confidential information in the United Nations, information that needs to be handled with great sensitivity, and it is appropriate for different offices to monitor how that information is handled. By the way, while we're on the subject of your questions, I just got an answer to you. Mr. Feldman is not meeting the Venezuelans today.
I just wanted to ask one,
Okay, sure.
Because it seems like there can be a conflict between saying that whistleblowers are free to speak, but we're free to investigate them because we're an organization that has confidential information. So I'm asking you about this specific, and I believe you can answer on this.
Every institution, including all governments, are free to conduct leak investigations, and they do so. We try to make sure, and there are, as you know, different offices and different avenues for protection for whistleblowers. There's a whistleblower protection policy, and that has to be enforced.
So if somebody leaked, for example, I'm going to go back so it's not a hypothetical, an actual document, the Rwanda memo that went to Kofi Annan that said weapons are being stored and a genocide is about to happen. Somebody leaked it to the press. Would it be appropriate for the UN to investigate who blew the whistle on human rights violations, which is the case in this?
As you know, there have been many different types of sensitive documents over the history of the UN that have in fact leaked to the press, and no one has faced any consequences for that precisely because it was in the public interest. At the same time, a lot of the business of the UN simply could not be conducted. The sensitive diplomatic work we're supposed to do could not happen if there was the presumption that all documents would leak.